Sometimes the struggles of the rich and famous are real after all. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 10 millionaires who have been kidnapped. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we'll be looking at millionaires or heirs of millionaires who've been kidnapped and ransomed. We'll be excluding children and millionaires who weren't returned alive. Mohamed Daoudi. Africa's youngest billionaire, Mohamed Daoudi, has racked up quite a few accomplishments. He served as a member of the Tanzanian parliament and, as the owner of the conglomerate Metal Group, has accumulated a net worth of nearly $2 billion. Unfortunately, that has also made him a target. On the morning of October 11, 2018, he was kidnapped outside Tanzania's Coliseum Hotel. His family offered a substantial reward for information, but luckily, Daoudi was released on the morning of October 20th for unknown reasons. It's unclear whether the kidnappers released them on their own accord or if a ransom was paid. Regardless, Daoudi was returned safely, except for a few rope burns on his hands and legs. Eddie Lampert.
I believed back then that massive change was coming to retail, and with massive change comes massive opportunity.
As the founder, CEO, and chairman of ESL Investments, and former chairman of Sears Holdings, Eddie Lampert has done pretty well for himself. In 2003, however, he was kidnapped in a parking lot while leaving work. He spent 2 days in captivity, but was able to sweet-talk his abductors by promising them $5 million to let him go. They bought it and dropped him off at an exit ramp near a police station. And no, they never saw their money. In fact, the ringleader, Ronaldo Rose, was later arrested and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Charles F. Ersal. Here's a man who could think on his toes. On July 22, 1933, wealthy oil tycoon Charles F. Ersal was kidnapped by none other than Machine Gun Kelly.
Use your words. Conversations are amazing.
No, not that Machine Gun Kelly, the actual Machine Gun Kelly. Kelly and his associate Albert Bates stormed Ersal's residence and abducted Ersal and his guest Walter Jarrett while they were playing bridge.
Through this door, leading to the sun porch, where the Ersals and 2 friends were playing a final rubber of bridge,
Ersal was taken to a farmhouse, where he diligently studied his environment, despite being blindfolded, which later helped the authorities locate the hideout. Ersal was released after 8 days once his family paid a ransom of $200,000, or about $4 million today. In the end, Machine Gun Kelly and his associates were caught and put behind bars.
the trial is over, and the jury has reached a verdict. Thus, Uncle Sam rolled up his sleeves and dealt gangland a swift, decisive blow.
Victor Lee Tsarkai. It sounds like the plot of a gangster film. But for Victor Lee Tsarkai, it was all too real. The current chairman of multinational conglomerate CK Hutchison Holdings, Victor Lee is the son of Hong Kong business magnate Li Ka-shing, who's worth roughly $32.8 billion. In 1996, Victor Lee was kidnapped by notorious Chinese gangster Zhang Zuqiang. Zhang later walked into Lee's house and personally received 1 billion Hong Kong dollars in cash in exchange for the release of the business magnate's son. Zhang was later arrested in August 1998 and tried for a number of crimes, including the kidnappings of Victor Lee and Walter Kwok, the chairman of Sun Hun Kai Properties. Sentenced to death, he was executed by firing squad the same year. Jorge and Kwon born. This family knew how to make a deal. Siblings Jorge and Kwon Born were key members of Bunhe and Born, an Argentinian food corporation. Founded in 1884 by Ernst Bunhe and his brother-in-law Jorge Born, the company grew to control 80% of Argentina's cereal exports. On September 19, 1974, family heirs Jorge and Kwon Born were kidnapped by a terrorist group known as the Montoneros. They were held for 9 months before a ransom of $60 million was reportedly paid for their release, the largest paid ransom in history at the time. To make the story even more incredible, Jorge Born later went into business with one of his kidnappers, the Montonero strategist Rodolfo Galimberti. Freddie Heineken. A man named Gerard Heineken persuaded his mother to buy a local brewery called De Hooiberg. Nearly 10 years later, the first Heineken beer was introduced to the public. Fast forward to 1983, Gerard's grandson Freddie is Heineken's CEO, having assumed the role in 1971. On November 9th, however, Freddie and his driver were kidnapped in front of Heineken's office. They were chained inside a soundproof Quonset hut for 3 weeks before a ransom of 35 million Dutch guilders, or the equivalent of $20 million, was paid by the family. The masterminds, Cor van Hout and Willem Holleder, were soon caught and thrown behind bars. Edouard Jean Appa. It might have been easy to envy the life of Baron Edouard Jean Appa, a French-Belgian industrialist born into wealth who served as the CEO of Schneider Appa. That is, without his brutal and exhausting kidnapping in 1978. On the morning of January 23rd, Appa's car was intercepted and hijacked by a French guerrilla organization. The following day, his family was told to go to the Gare de Lyon, where they found Appa's severed finger and a letter demanding 80 million francs. After several weeks, numerous phone calls and letters, and a police shootout with 3 casualties, Appa was released. Following a studious investigation by the police, the kidnappers were eventually arrested, but Appa admitted he was never the same. Frank Sinatra Jr. It can't always be easy being the son of someone so famous. On December 8, 1963, 2 men, Barry Keenan and Joe Amsler, kidnapped Frank Sinatra Jr. at the Harrah's Club Lodge in Lake Tahoe. A third accomplice, John Irwin, called Frank Sr. and demanded $240,000 for his son's release. Frank agreed, but while Keenan and Amsler picked up the money, Irwin snapped under pressure, freeing Sinatra Jr. early. He later revealed the whole plan to his brother, who contacted the FBI. All 3 were caught and convicted, but after 4.5 years in prison, mastermind Barry Keenan was found legally insane and released. He later raked in millions as a real estate developer. John Paul Getty III. There's no sugarcoating this one. John was the grandson of J. Paul Getty, the founder of the Getty Oil Company.
I've learned to appreciate the finer things from Mr. Getty.
In 1973, 16-year-old John was kidnapped by the mafia in Rome and taken to a cave. The captors demanded $17 million, but Getty refused, stating that a payout would only encourage criminals to kidnap his other heirs.
Those children are my blood, Chase.
In response, John's captors tortured him, playing Russian roulette with him and cutting off his ear. Finally, his family caved and paid $2.9 million. John later abused alcohol and drugs to numb the pain of the kidnapping, and in 1981, he overdosed and suffered a stroke that left him quadriplegic, partially blind, and mute. He died in 2011 at the age of 54. Patty Hearst. It only gets darker from here. The granddaughter of publishing magnate William Randolph Hearst, Patty Hearst was kidnapped by a left-wing terrorist group, the Symbionese Liberation Army, in 1974.
For those people who still believe that I'm brainwashed or dead, I see no reason to further defend my position.
While imprisoned, she was indoctrinated and raped before declaring herself a member of the SLA. She later partook in various crimes, including bank robberies, shootings, and concocting explosives. 19 months after her abduction, she was arrested and defended by F. Lee Bailey, who would go on to also defend O.J. Simpson. Unlike O.J., however, Patty was found guilty and sentenced to 7 years in prison. President Jimmy Carter later commuted her sentence to time served. She was released in 1979, and in 2001, she was granted a full pardon by Bill Clinton. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.